That's like the worst thing in the world, I'm sure for you, is when you find out that you delivered beautifully, wrapped in a bow, and they did nothing with the leads.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes my skin crawl. But
Yeah.
because I think people just don't know what to do. And so that's where I would jump in and I would help. I would say, hey, tell me what the process is today. What do you guys do with these leads when they come in? What is your strategy? Who responds? Who's responsible? What if that person's sick? Who else responds? How do we make sure that we have a plan in place that not only can be successful with 20 leads a month, but with 20 reps getting 20 leads a month?
Hallelujah.
So
hallelujah, for sure. I mean, I like to say you're preaching to the preacher. Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall, where we throw ideas, see what sticks, and nurture those that do. I'm your host, Armando Leduc, an actor, entrepreneur, and coach, giving you insights that light up your world. We're here to explore the realms of business, marketing, and life, serving up a shot of inspiration with every episode. Ready to make ideas stick and grow them into something great? Let's dive in. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you are consuming this podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, back with another one. Adam Bieber, Justin Bieber's brother. Probably be great if you were, though. It's got to be somewhere in the family line.
We're there. I've got stories.
Do you? What's your story? Tell me the story.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on.
Hell yeah.
You can't not be revved up with a guitar riff like that,
bro. So I haven't talked about the riff in a while. So I made a movie called Bourbon Whiz. It's The Wizard of Oz meets Bourbon Street. And it's
it sounded like something else, bourbon. Really,
well, it is. Okay. Well, so the story is The Wizard of Oz, if it was set in New Orleans, you know, and the witches are all strippers. There's a crackhead instead of a scarecrow, living statue instead of a tin man. And all the music is from there. And so there was a moment where, you know, the flying monkeys are the shot girls. Mm-hmm. And they're coming to get the ruby red G string from Dorothy. And they get in a fight with the crackhead. And I wanted to have a song in there that felt like this 80s, you know, like this 80s karate montage song.
Of course.
And and I was working on Bourbon Street. I was a musician on Bourbon Street for years. And so the band, Brad Lewis, shout out to Brad, created that guitar riff. And here's a little known fact that the only people that did the movie know, but there's a riff from Kenny G. Do you know who Kenny G is?
Of course.
That dee doo dee doo 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 doo, like his iconic tune, right? He put that riff into this song. That ba-do down, ba-do ba-down, ba-down, ba-down. So when you hear it, that's the riff that we took from.
Dude, that's awesome.
From Kenny G's tune. So anyway, I'm all revved up. I've had 2 cups of coffee. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to get in. And we're talking about why people can't close deals. Adam here, coach, consultant, helps with culture and business, helps with getting your sales up. And so wanted to bring him on. Super, super glad you're here. Let's get some backstory on Justin Bieber and how you came to be. And then we'll roll into why people can't close deals.
Cool. Sounds great, man. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. Love your show. Big fan. There's a couple connections. So growing up, we had these things called the house phone, which I know a lot of people aren't going to understand the concept. But when I first moved to the Atlanta area, I was in middle school. Justin Bieber's a little bit younger than me, and he was just coming onto the scene, you know, early Justin Bieber days. And so my dad, doing the right thing, lists our family in the white pages. And we actually ended up having to cancel our home phone because we were getting phone calls on the daily, like crazy. Middle of the night phone calls, people calling, asking if Justin's there. And we made the mistake as kids. I got a bunch of siblings. We would answer the phone and be like, hold on a second, Justin. You know, we would sit there and just kind of, you know, mess with them a little bit. So that kind of made for some funny stories. And then fast forward, I go to the military and I'm in Air Force boot camp training, which is not really all that hard, but I'm there, I'm living it. And there were meals that I had to miss and stand up in front of the whole dining facility and sing because my last name's Bieber.
Oh, they were messing with you
So,
hardcore.
oh yeah, yeah. I call it character development, not hazing. So I
Character
stand by that
development.
too.
There you go. It's all about the reframe. All
Yeah,
about the
but
reframe.
I did know that having that last name meant people were going to remember me. So I needed to make sure it was a positive memory, not a negative one. So
Hey,
yeah.
very cool. I love that. So yeah, let's talk about why people can't close deals, man.
Where do you want to start? There's a lot of reasons. Honestly, man, this is what I've seen, and I don't claim to have the silver bullet that's going to solve every sales organization's problems and issues. There could be a ton of underlying issues causing people to not close deals. What I've seen happen the most is there is a desperation that sets in for a salesperson where all that they're focused on is how to get the next sale and making sure they got a fat commission check coming at the end of the month or quarter. What I realized is that puts a whole lot of pressure on you and takes the control of the actual sales cycle away from you.
Mm.
And what I've found in just working with teams and working with people when I was in multi-billion-dollar SaaS sales, and then now that I work with smaller organizations to scale their sales teams, there's a whole lot that we teach on execution of metrics, on smile and dial, on read these scripts. We're not teaching people the soft skills that they need to build relationships. And I don't care if you're new customer acquisition or if you're account management, it doesn't matter. You have to focus on connecting with the human being on the other side of the phone.
Dude,
I think that's a big barrier.
Dude, I just read this book. It's called Leadership and Self-Sabotage.
Okay.
Amazing book. Incredible book. So much so that like I've made it a required reading if you work here at Leduc Entertainment.
I love that.
And the reason is because, and the cliff notes of the book is, are you inside the box or outside the box? And I'll explain what that means, right? When we're inside the box, according to the book, right, we are only concerned with ourselves and we're treating the person like they're an object and not like they're a person, right?
Wow.
So we could be having the exact same conversation, the exact same words. But if I'm talking to you from inside the box, everything is your fault, right? I'm going to throw the accusations on you. I'm treating you like an object. When you step outside the box, you understand that that person has feelings, fears. They're a human being. And when we have conversations and I'm outside the box, then now constructive criticism is helpful suggestions. You know what I mean? It's all about the reframe, but it's also the intention of where you're coming from, right? And if you have relationships with family and your wife or, employees, if you are treating them from inside the box, then everything that you do from that point on is a reinforcement of your idea and story that you've created from inside the box, right? So if I've made it your fault that you didn't do this and blah, 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 then everything that I create in my brain will go to justifying that narrative.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I'm stepping outside the box, it changes. And so that's why it was so transformational. And I love what you talk about in terms of connection, because like, yes, when you're looking at dollar signs and you're looking at closing deals and that's all you're looking at, you're treating the person like they're an object or dollar signs. Or you remember back in the day, I don't know how old you are, but the cartoons of when somebody was hungry and the thing turned into a steak,
Yes.
It's that, right? It's, oh my God. Okay. I'm objectifying this person as a dollar sign and they can feel it. And that's why you're not closing these deals.
Yeah. Yeah. They can sense the desperation. They know that there's oftentimes fear behind it. I mean, I get it, man. Like people have bills to pay. People have families to provide for. It feels counterintuitive to say, don't even worry about, like, you need to go into the deal transaction. I love this. Like you don't need it. When you can show up to the meeting, not desperate and really believe I don't need this deal. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I just want the best result for my customer.
Yeah.
Well, then you're going to provide better consultation. You're going to provide better feedback. You're going to provide better suggestions. If you're in the services business and you offer different types of services, you're going to cultivate the right offering for them. Not necessarily the one that pays out the higher commission or the one that, has the shorter sales cycle. You're going to cultivate the right one.
Yeah.
And then what happens is when you continue to do the right thing for the customer that you're working with, they become repeat customers and your customer retention goes up. And what's so cool is having friends, like real good friends that I help do multi 6-figure deals for, that we don't now I don't sell to them. We're just friends.
Yeah.
We just call each other and
Incredible.
shoot the crap and just have fun. Like that is such a powerful example of what can happen when you focus on building the relationship.
Hell yeah. So talk to me about the different types of people that you help.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. When I started the Synergetic Culture podcast, it was because I wanted there to be a resource for anybody in any stage of their career to have practical and tangible content to help them build a better culture. That's kind of our tagline mission statement. We coined the name Synergetic Culture, the idea of synergy and energy and being energetic. And it's this action. It's this symbiotic relationship that happens with a team when everybody's moving and breathing and acting and responding in the same way. And through that, we've met a lot of different people, and there's been a lot of different personalities and professionals that have come on the show and shared their experiences and what's worked for them. Where we tend to help the most, I will say, because really we can help anybody, but where we tend to help the most is people in the service industries, where they're providing some type of service to a customer. And so whether they be software, digital sales, cybersecurity services, they could be accounting services, marketing services. A lot of times service industry business owners start their business because they were really good at that service.
Yeah.
So I'll take like an MSP, for example, a managed service provider, people that do IT and cybersecurity. Most of those owners are cybersecurity and IT people. And so they became business owners. They had to learn leadership. They had to figure out how to grow. And a lot of times the things that we can do to help them scale, have a go-to-market strategy, have a sales process, know how to manage a pipeline, all of that. Some of those skills and tactics are missing. And so we step in and help elevate what they're already doing really well and give them some structure, and then teach them how to build a culture and an environment around it that feeds off of each other and grows. So go ahead.
So when you're looking at some of the problems and pain points that they have,
Yeah.
tell me about, tell me what they're seeing. What are some of these problems?
Yeah. Sales are oxygen for a business. And, being a small business owner now and experiencing that, a lot of the customers I work with are small business owners. And for them, they're doing everything they can to keep the business running, make sure they're paying their people, make sure their current customers are happy, pay all the bills, handle everything. That figuring out how to work on the business, to have a strategy for building the brand, to have a strategy for what to do with inbound leads when you get them, to have a strategy for how you tackle new customer acquisition, that's missing. And what I've found is there is a lot of times there's really successful business owners that don't know exactly what it is that they're missing, but they just know that they need a little bit of help in some of these areas. And so that's, for them, it's not quite desperation. It's, hey, I know there's a gap. We want to grow. I want to get acquired. I would like to acquire. I want a profitable business. I want a legacy to leave my kids. Like, there's so many motivating reasons why this person is running a business. Yeah. And when I can come in and step in and help them scale and grow and have a strategy, dude, it revs me up. It gets me so pumped. It's like that guitar riff, because for me, seeing people be successful, seeing the light bulbs go off as we're building these things, man, it's so rewarding. It's so exciting and thrilling for me.
Yeah. I think, and I'll get your opinion on this. and we do consulting too, right? We're a marketing company. We'll
Hmm.
bring in like a crap ton of business to somebody's organization, and then we'll look and we notice that like, oh, they're not growing, right? And be like, how's this possible? Analytics say we're bringing in, 200-300 leads that are coming through. What's the problem?
Sure.
They
Sure.
can't convert.
Yep.
Their follow-up strategy is non-existent.
Yep.
Their customer journeys are non-existent.
Yep.
So what happens if they choose to ignore
Mm.
this pain?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think what happens is people get excited because they see, oh my gosh, I can work with an amazing marketing agency. They're going to bring me, in some businesses, 5 leads a month would be nice to just have inbound, people reaching out through the website, doing a form,
Sure.
something. Um, so they get excited about that. But if they don't have a process to convert, like you're right, the business will not grow. And what I've seen happen is, people see all of the tools and AI and exciting things
Mhm.
that you can leverage. And so they think, well, we're just going to automate the whole process and they're just going to sign on the dotted line and buy with me. And I go back to the relationship piece. Like, this is my philosophy. We automate for accuracy, for data integrity, and to streamline a process that is repeated exactly the same every single time. But if I need to put the human element on a lot. And so what we do is we build structure, we build a pipeline, we build stages and a process and expectations and reminders and all these things that help people go from step to step so that they don't lose the follow up, so that they don't have all these leads that just fall off the cliff because nobody reaches out. That's like the worst thing in the world, I'm sure for you, is when you find out that you delivered beautifully, wrapped in a bow, and they did nothing with the leads.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
But because I think people just don't know what to do. And so that's where I would jump in and I would help. I would say, hey, tell me what the process is today. What do you guys do with these leads when they come in? What is your strategy? Who responds? Who's responsible? What if that person's sick? Who else responds? How do we make sure that we have a plan in place that not only can be successful with 20 leads a month, but with 20 reps getting 20 leads a month?
Hallelujah.
So,
Hallelujah. For sure. I mean, I like to say you're preaching to the preacher. Because it's true, man. It's like, look, the sales is in the follow-up. If there's no plan, yeah, everybody's got a customer journey, whether they plan it or not, right?
yep,
Hopefully you
yep,
plan it.
yep,
Hopefully you're intentional about it. But that's the reason why things aren't going well in people's business. And just a low hanging fruit that's hanging around too, like referrals.
sure,
How
sure.
is there a referral strategy in the
Yep.
business? And it's strategy and implementation, right? Like we can have this
Mhm.
the strategy, but if we don't have the implementation, then that also doesn't work, right?
Well, and the other thing to remember, and what I try to share with people when I get the opportunity to, is like, my process isn't going to guarantee that you're going to hit these numbers in this amount of time. No. My process gives you the tools so that you can execute and then you can go and make it
Yeah.
happen. But I still have to learn a lot about you and your customer and your ideal journey and what that looks like. So I go in and I do a ton of discovery to understand, what is this business really wanting?
Right.
Like, to say, hey, we need more sales. Come on in, help us. Well, I sit down. Like, if I can meet them in person, I will go meet them in person. And I get out this crazy, it's called a mind map. It's this great app. You should get it if you don't have it.
We use
Because my
Lucid
brain,
Chart. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. My brain's not linear. So I got to like bubble
Same.
everywhere.
Same.
And so I'll just start asking questions and we just start building out this big map. And all of a sudden, we've got this real desire. We can find where the underlying pain points are. And then through that discovery, we figure out, okay, where's the process broken? What will it take to fix it? And it's customized, man. It's not a template that I just copy paste email and you charge you
Yeah.
$5,000 for. It's a actual journey that we go on to improve the go-to-market strategy, sales,
Yeah.
leadership, culture, all of that.
Tell me some stories. Well, not some stories, but tell me a story of
Sure.
somebody that you guys, a business that you've helped.
Yeah. So there's a service company that we stepped in and helped. Really amazing company. I love the owner. Guy started the company a few decades ago. had a passion for the service that he was delivering, kind of like I was talking about earlier, and uh, grew organically. Had a really good network of people, went to a good college, just had connections. At the beginning when you're starting out, if you've got good people around you, they're supporting you, they're cheering you on, they're reposting, they're bringing you referrals. So all that just happened naturally and organically. And so what happened is years went by and they got better at the execution of the service, but they didn't get better at the process of how they get somebody from reaching out, I'm interested, to closed one opportunity. Let's ring the bell, hit the gong, pop the confetti, and scale. And so I came in, asked a ton of questions. We did a really deep discovery. What we figured out in this case was a lack of organization and structure for a pipeline. There was a CRM that nobody really knew how to use. There was a few, they had really good systems and processes for delivering the actual service. But when it came to the sales process, it was just null and void. Yeah. So we jumped in. We had several strategy sessions. We did a couple over Zoom. I went out to their office. We spent hours together, dreaming, building, ideal situation. What's the goal? What's the hope? What's the dream? How can we get you there? I'm a big fan of identifying the target. I had a friend who used to say, not having a goal in mind is like throwing an axe on a wall and then walking up to the wall and drawing a bullseye around the axe where you hit the wall. You have to have a bullseye first. Sure. And so we worked really hard.
I like that though. Maybe I'll start doing that.
Yeah, it's a good, exactly.
But I hit it. I hit my target.
Exactly. Well, people do it all the time. They just kind of like willy-nilly go after something. They're like, okay, I'll, try the gym out. And they're like, sweet, my goal was, 2 times this week and I did it. It's like, no, you were lazy. You could have gone 5 times. Anyway. So, we identified the bullseye and then we deconstructed it, worked our way backwards and figured out what do we need to do on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and quarterly basis for a salesperson to be successful at growing the business and hitting these closed one opportunity targets in the timeline that they wanted to achieve. Yeah. And so we had to tweak a few things. We had to talk through realistic expectations. We had to figure out how are we getting these leads? What's our marketing strategy? So we kind of stepped into that world a little bit as well. What's the brand growth strategy? We developed a plan, started executing it. What's so cool is, like I said at the beginning, seeing the light bulbs go off, but just hearing the stories of success, man. Like for them to already have done more business in the couple of months that we've been working with them than they did all of last year, is phenomenal. Like that just gets me excited, Amazing. Gets me pumped. They've got a really good peer network within their industry, and they're giving me referrals to other businesses that I can help do the same thing. Not in competing markets, but sure. Where I can step in and help them implement similar things. So it's so exciting. It's so fun. I get a lot of life and enjoyment from being able to do that. They're an amazing success story of the willingness to implement, pivot, shift, go through some growing pains, adopt a new process. Yeah. We didn't even touch on like, you have to retrain human beings how to operate within that process. Yeah. But doing it and delivering it in such a way that they all see the value of it. And now they're really seeing the value. So it's fun. It's awesome.
So what's your offer? How do people work with you?
Yeah. So there's 3 ways. There's 3 ways that I can jump in and help. Some folks want to bring me in and just have me talk to a team. Maybe they don't have a budget for a ton of consulting, and that's okay. I will do events. So whether they be lunch and learn, digital events, in-person events, the price just depends upon where you're at, where I'm at, and how to get to you, and what we're going to be doing. So I'll do speaking events. And then there's kind of 2 real strong focuses that we put in the consulting space, leadership and culture development. So maybe there is a really strong process in place, but the culture sucks. People's attitudes suck. And there's serious work that needs to be done on reframing how people see their position and what they're doing and how the people at the top lead by example to do that. So we'll focus on leadership and culture development, and then we'll focus on sales strategy. Those are kind of our 2 main buckets that we'll jump in. There's a lot of connecting pieces. So you get a lot of overlap.
Mhm.
And the best way is just to reach out to me, adam@synergeticculture.com. You can send me an email directly. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Um, and I just like starting a conversation. Usually I'll jump on the phone, talk to somebody, kind of understand what their struggle is and see if I might be a good fit. And here's the thing, if I'm not a good fit, I'll tell you. I'll tell you that's outside of my scope. I don't want to waste your time or your money.
Sure.
But I'm well connected. And, when someone asks me for help with marketing stuff, I know I've got Leduc Entertainment. I've got a couple others in my corner, in
Sure.
my pocket that would jump in and help. So yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with me.
That's amazing, man. So any last words on sales in particular? Maybe it's a mindset hack.
People undervalue the impact that gratitude has on a human being. If you start your day taking a notebook and writing down 3 things that you're thankful for, it doesn't matter if you roll your ankle stepping out of the bed. You will have just thought gratitude, and what that does to your brain and your mindset and just your overall outlook on what you're about to take on in the day, it has a dramatic impact. And so one of the things that I do often is, especially with my son, I've got a 6-year-old son. He just turned 6.
That's awesome.
And every night we all say things that we're grateful for before bed. I'm like, hey, bud,
That's awesome.
You just turned 6. Now you got to tell me 6 things you're grateful for. And it's usually the same thing. It's like a couple stuffies and me and mom and stepmom and all this stuff. But I want him to know that that is a healthy way of operating, and that's going to give him the best version of himself to take on whatever's next.
I love that.
After that, I would say discipline. You don't just wake up successful. You will see it, especially in sales. That random person that just started on the team is going to get that lucky lead, and they're going to close that fat deal that you've never closed. And you're like, I've been here for 4 years, busting my tail. Why did they get the good luck deal and I didn't get the good? Comparison is the thief of joy. Stay humble, stay grateful, and just stay disciplined. Keep working at it. And I just believe that those mindsets and execution of well-disciplined behavior, it's going to lead to positive results.
100%.
I don't know anybody that struggles with their mindset, that struggles with motivation and perseverance, that gets up at 4:45 every day and works out. Like those people, every single one of them that I know, they got their ish together, man. And whether or not they're closing every deal, that's not really important. They've got the mindset and they've got the ability to go the distance, and not just show up one day a week, show up every day for themselves, for their families, and for whatever it is that they're doing to earn a dollar.
Yeah. I think it has a lot to do with imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
When you're thinking about why you don't treat yourself better and where that comes from in terms of how you value yourself.
Sure.
And so when you don't have a lot of high value in yourself due to trauma, due to judgment, how you grew up, you start living a lie, right? And the longer you live that lie, the longer or further away from who you really are you become. And so, slow and steady disciplinary habits, Atomic Habits is a great book. But like, I think, there's another really good book that I super recommend, Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey.
Yes.
And in the book, he talks about creating that environment of trust within an organization, but also it starts with trust in yourself, right? If you say, hey, I'm going to wake up at 5 this morning and I'm going to go work out. And then you don't. And then the next day you don't. And then the next day you don't. Then you've lied to yourself enough, right? And so that in turn creates that environment within yourself, right? So now you can't even trust yourself. So if you can't trust yourself, then nobody else can trust you. And so that further creates that environment for you. And then, and then you wonder, what is stopping, what's stopping me from getting where I need to go? And
Yeah.
I would highly recommend reading the book, but really
Sure,
start
sure.
creating a trust in yourself that whatever you say you're going to do, you go and do it, even if it's a hard decision.
Yeah. One of the early leadership influences on me is a guy by the name of Dr. Tim Elmore. He worked with John Maxwell, the like godfather of leadership. But Dr. Tim wrote a bunch of leadership books for students. And one of my first sales jobs was selling the leadership curriculum to K-12 educators and school districts,
Cool.
and then colleges and teams. And so I got to travel with him. Like we were at the student center for the University of Alabama and got to hear him share
Very
leadership with athletes and stuff like that. It was awesome. Like that's what got me so fired up about what I do and the underlying reason why I do what I do. And he's got this leadership curriculum called Habitudes, images that form leadership habits and attitudes. And the very first one from the first book, The Art of Self-Leadership, is an image of an iceberg. And like 10% is out of the water, 90% below the surface. And it talks about dealing with what's below the surface. And in any realm, business, personal, relationships, friendships, volunteer, whatever it is that you do, the way that you show up best for other people is by having the awareness about what's going on below the surface and then dealing with it, exposing it. And the first thing I say is like, bacteria doesn't grow well in the light. So the moment you bring something into the light, you start to kill the power that it has over you. For a long time, I struggled with anxiety and had panic attacks. I was medicated and I wouldn't tell a soul because I thought it made me lesser than, and I thought it made me weak. As soon as I started talking about it, I started meeting all these amazing dudes that I admired and trusted that were like, hey man, back in my 20s, I went through this thing with my business and had a series of panic attacks and ended up in the hospital. Like I started learning about what it was that I was dealing with and exposing it, putting light on it, and then surrounding myself with the right resources to tackle it and deal with it so that I can show up not as a victim, but as a victor.
Yeah.
And so that's really a huge, I love that you were wrapping up with that thought, because that's really the basis of just human life, is just being the best version of yourself. Yeah. And I'm a huge believer that small incremental changes over long periods of time create the biggest impact. You can't go out there and train for a marathon today.
Yeah.
You're going to have to run 2 miles today, and then a mile tomorrow, and then 3 miles tomorrow. And then 6 months from now, you'll probably be ready to run the marathon.
Yeah.
So it's just about making those shifts and those pivots and those changes. You don't got to change everything. Just every day, I'm just going to be a little bit better than I was the day before. So
Bieber.
Yes, sir.
Adam Bieber, everybody. I appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, shoot me an email, send me a LinkedIn DM. I would love to connect with anybody that hears this, that resonated with anything that I shared.
And your show. Where can we see your show?
Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio. It's Synergetic Culture. You can look that up. And synergeticculture.com. Adam at Synergetic Culture.
I love it.
Love to connect.
Hey, I appreciate you being here, and we'll see you soon.
All right. God bless, brother. Appreciate you.
And that was, do you hear it? Do, 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 do. I'll play it one more time. It's the saxophone riff.
That's it.
Anyway, that was Leduc Entertainment. Spaghetti. Oh, sorry. Jesus. All right. That was Spaghetti on the Wall, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Leduc Entertainment for all of your social media marketing needs, personal branding. We got you. Keep listening, keep watching, and we'll see you all next time.